being an empath, sensitive person, and meeting their own spiritual needs. So, I am an empath. I'm here to share my story of being an empath and why I switched my professions into, in a healing profession. I switched into a healing profession. And yeah, so let's just start with the video. So, I've always been a very sensitive person, okay? Sensitive to energies, sensitive to my environment, sensitive to people around me, right? It just, yeah, I've always been like that since childhood, okay? And usually, yeah, so the very first obstacle that I faced, as a child was that people around me thought of me as weak, you know, sensitive, emotional are usually seen as weak, in our society, because we live in a very masculine oriented world, very toxic masculine oriented world, true masculine energies would always respect and harbor feminine energies, but we live in a slightly more toxic masculine world where feminine is has been seen as weak. So if you're emotional, you're sensitive, you're seen as weak. So yeah, I found like my parents are very overprotective towards me. Yeah, and then people outside my family, my friends and everything, of course they didn't tell me on my face, but it's but being an empath, you just know, you are somebody who see more, isn't it? So yeah, you are sensitive to, you, even if you're just having a conversation, that's exactly what it's like being an empath, right? You're having a conversation and somebody just even moves their body, you just know the energy has shifted, in the conversation. The person is thinking something else, you just know. That's exactly what being an empath is. You just learning, observing body language just comes so naturally to you, you sense shift in energies, you know what person is even thinking without even they themselves consciously knowing it, right? That is what it is like being an empath, right? Let's say you are having a conversation and somebody who is like you know jealous of you, or even somebody who's envious of you, right? You would just sense that subconsciously, unconsciously, and you just try to comfort that person. You just try to calm their insecurities, because that's what you are. You're sensitive to the needs of the people a lot more than they themselves. You know people more than they themselves know, right? They don't know themselves that much as you know, right? So you just, that's what an empath is, first of all. Not everybody is an empath, first of all, right? Because I see like things that are happening out there on internet. Real people, genuine people who are really connecting to the, new age consciousness, who are really stepping into the 5D, who are there, they are, um what do I say? They have less following. They really have less following. um, Not many genuine people, out there on YouTube, on internet. There are many frauds out there, who really know what 5D consciousness is, and everybody just thinks they are an empath, they are this, they are that. um, it took me like 2 to 3 decades. Really took me like 2 to 3 decades to really identify myself as an empath, and it didn't happen through internet. It didn't happen through internet. I mean, internet was just it's just like a slap on my face. Like, it's just, when I saw it, I was like, okay, fine, yeah, I am this, and it wasn't all, it wasn't like it was just a confirmation. That's it. My whole life I have practice being an empath, okay? You know, it's different, okay? I mean, people are just getting it completely wrong. People are literally hallucinating on YouTube, and it just scares me a lot. Like, we're getting into 5D new age consciousness, and then there are one sector of people who are completely distracted. They don't care what is happening. They just don't care what's happening spiritually on the planet. Then, there is one sector of people who are overly logical, right? And they're very, they would just reject it. That's thanks to British education system. These are the people who really inspired the British education system. I have also been through a British education system, I mean, in India. That's great. In India, the colonization effect, it's what I call a colonization effect. I love how Guru Pashupati says it's a river Thames education. So true. How he jokes around that, river Thames education. It's just so true. I mean, Britishers were basically, when they came to India, they were very intimidated by India's culture. It's so big, it's so huge. People are speaking different languages, and and people are just different nature, okay? They never felt like they need to go out somewhere, conquer something. They have everything with them. It's she's like a feminine. India East was like a feminine. Just sitting in her power, knowing everything, just sitting there. And this Western world was little more like, they were like toxic masculine people, overly wanting to conquer and stuff like that. Toxic masculine will always think about winning, losing, you know but here we were very feminine people, right? We sat in our villages. We never even felt like crossing one village over there, crossing over to the other village, beyond the river. Like, forget going beyond the seven seas. And they thought that we were naive. They were completely intimidated, you know but we weren't. It's just, we had some kind of a satisfactory feeling in us. We lived with our culture. We were so connected to God. We were very fulfilled, in us. We never felt the need, to go beyond the seven seas. They were the ones who felt the need because they weren't connected to God and Saudi, right? So, yeah, yeah. So one sector of people are very, you know, so yeah, the Britishers were they were so intimidated that, they rejected being and skeptical. They just said that you guys are naive, you guys are innocent, okay? You don't. We are the ones who've conquered you. We're the ones who've come here. And then, of course, they start exploiting and everything. They try to put in all the insecurities that were possible. That they told our culture was very backwards, this and that. We are very progressive. We are moving forwards. So, yeah, all of these things happen. I mean, of course, we cannot deny that somewhere, yes, our Indian culture was also getting corrupted, right? But we paid a huge, 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 huge price, for we didn't deserve that huge price, for that. Yeah, but that's just what happens. So, yeah, so Britishers came, and they were quite intimidated. So they were very logical. They stopped being skeptical, experimental. Which is the heart of India, heart of Indian spirituality. Being skeptical, being experimental. So they just straight away gave away the judgment, right? And that's exactly how our even education system was, very less experimental. They just simply gave away the judgments, okay, and very opinionated, okay. And Britishers felt, the more opinionated you are, the more, intellectual you are. It's just, the more educated you are, the more information you have. It's but let me tell you, half the information that's really buzzing around in the world is just fake, right? So, yeah, British education system actually, made very logical people, very opinionated, less experimental, less skeptical, right? And it's just such a waste of a human talent completely, right? So, yeah, so one sector of people completely distracted, one set of people overly skeptical, overly logical, not being skeptical around it, just thinking that all this is crazy stuff that's going on. And then there is a third sector of people, right, which are hallucinating, completely hallucinating. They think they are this, they are that, they are, yeah, a whole lot of I see, and I just feel so bad. And frauds are actually having more following. They are selling more glittery things out there, and real genuine people who are trying to really make sense, who are, talking about how internally we can change ourselves, spiritually we can change ourselves. People like those, they have less following, and yeah, because they are not trying to say something glittery there, they are pointing back everything to you, that that's exactly what spirituality believes, that you can change things, you can change things. But there are, frauds out there in the name of 5D, in the name of new age consciousness. They're trying to sell you stuff, they're trying to give false information. It's just not what it is, please. There's a lot. And literally, they are literally naive, innocent people are becoming victims of this, some frauds that are happening out there. So whatever. So yeah, I'm trying to say that being an empath is rare, okay? Being extremely sensitive is rare, okay? And the very first part of my life was that everybody around me was trying to suppress it. I mean, I was suppressing it. I should, but yeah, I mean, I just, it was me ultimately who was making the choice, that I was making the choice, but there were overly logical people around me, and um, yeah, and even, people outside my family and everything, so it's actually, um, being an empath, you just read people more, you sense energies more, and I knew what everyone thought, so I shut myself up, while growing up. I felt extremely suppressed. I feel extremely bored, frustrated, because I do not get to practice my own nature, right? So yeah, I this thing is always there in my mind, at the back of the mind and stuff. Everything is there, right? And then as I grew up, I had a good spiritual experience in 2016, and yeah, from there I don't know, things started to happen for me, things started to open up for me, and from then on I never looked back. I started opening up my heart. I just started, you know I just very unconsciously started to make a lot of friends, I'm in my 20s, right? I'm still in my 20s, late 20s, but yeah, I'm in my early 20s, and I am making a lot of friends around me. I have a good community, and it's very weird. I never thought I would do that, I never thought that I would make just a lot of friends, because I've always shut myself, but empaths are natural healers, they know, right? So as I made a lot of friends and everything, and I am subconsciously, um, helping them out. They don't know it that I'm doing it, but yeah, I'm helping them out, being a sensitive person, I'm healing them. I know how this works, right? Like, somebody is jealous of me, I know where this it's coming from. How we are deep thinkers, right? Empaths are deep thinkers, so they won't see good as good, they won't see bad as bad, because they know sometimes good also comes from ego. I've seen a whole lot of people doing charity because they think they're rich. So, and act of charity is basically an act of richness, right? So yeah, I've seen people do that, right? So I know, like, goodness sometimes comes from ego. So I know it's just not important to just judge, and we are not superficial people, right? We see so deeply, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah. So somebody is doing bad, then I am thinking, I'm not seeing it as bad. I'm seeing where it is coming from, right? So something, let's say somebody is jealous, or somebody is, envious of you. So I just pick up on what is the really insecurity they're feeling this way. They're saying bad words to me or whatever. They're really trying to, dim my shine and everything. But I know what their insecurity is, and I would just do it. It just came so naturally to me, right? People also thought that I am being a people pleaser because, why would I do that? Being sensitive doesn't pay you off, comforting somebody doesn't pay you off. Why would you do that? So people, because they worked for some reason, so they thought I'm also working for a reason. They thought that I'm a people pleaser, or, I'm very attached to them, you know. So they started to take me for granted in that sense. And, yeah. So, you know, yeah, I started to help people a lot, around me. I had a lot of friends and everything. And yeah, I really made genuine connections because in first time in my life, I really started to feel that this is me. I like connecting to people. I like connecting to their problems. I like connecting. I know, it's I'm not doing it for people pleasing or anything like that, but it's just like, when you have a puzzle in front of you, let's say you know how to solve a puzzle and it's just front of you, you would just, you know s- unconsciously you would just pick it up and just try to solve it, right? um, let's say you're in a room full of 10 people, right? And it's only you who knows how to cook, and everybody's starving, so you would just go to the kitchen and make food, right? It just comes easy to you, right? So healing always came very naturally to me. I connect with my community. I try to see and feel their problems, and I'm working upon them subconsciously, unconsciously. They don't know it, but yeah, they always felt very different with me. Yes, that she is a different energy, and yeah, that's what I was doing. But eventually, what started to happen was that um, I started to think that I owe it to them. I really started to think that just because I can do it, doesn't mean that I do it at my cost, right? But, you know, empaths are little more prone to saviors complex, you know. So I started to think that, just because I can do it, I'll just do it, it will just make things all right for them, and I can just do it. Mera kya jayega, kuch nahi hota, I can just do it. So I would do it way more than my capability. I felt so drained in energy, so drained in energies. Because what I was really doing was a very temporary work. I was comforting their security insecurities. I was comforting their triggers. I was, comforting their egos. That's what I started to do subconsciously and unconsciously, and that's not exactly what a healer does. Healer doesn't do that, okay? While when it comes to me, when healing came to me, I knew how to work at the roots. I knew I was a little hard on myself, at times. And of course, it was a mixture of both, you know. Real healer is a mixture of both compassion and little strictness. So when it came to me, I was working at my roots. But when it came to others, I was just comforting them because they didn't want anything more serious. Okay, actually they didn't even want healing. Okay, I was doing it for them when they didn't even wanted it. They are very subconscious and unconscious of what's really happening. Okay, they maybe they're choosing not to see it or whatever. Okay, but yeah, I've done it for like years. Okay, and I'm finding meaning, in my life after a long time, you know but that doesn't mean that I do it for people, who are not even ready, you know. So I am trying to really do it for people who are not even ready, okay? So, yeah, my first and my very hard lesson, that I really had was that don't do it for people who are not consciously ready for your healing. That's why I came into a healing profession this year, and I thought I will open it to everyone. Why do I just have to owe it to only some people around me? Why only some people have to pull on my energy? Why not everyone? And yeah, because I'm an empath, I'm a nature's girl. Empaths are very, very tuned to nature, very, very tuned to Earth, Mother Earth. So, yeah, I'm for everyone, right? So yeah, that was a hard lesson. Do it for people who are consciously ready. So I just made it a profession, and I wanted that people who are really ready and really wanted to heal, they can come and they can join, and we can do it in a very professional way, where I don't feel drained, as well. Okay. So yeah, it was one lesson that I really had, as an empath. I moved forward in my journey. Yeah, so I've just written some points that I wanted to talk in here. Oh yeah, another problem that I faced was that, you know, you're always playing the bigger person. It's just so tiring, it's just so tiring. You're always playing the more. So subconsciously, unconsciously, I'm really playing the adult for people around me, okay? As an empath. I know how to like handle them. I know how to, like it's like I know how to balance the energies, okay? I know how to do that, right? And I would do it, okay? And on the conscious level, just to put down their egos, right? Just so that they do not, okay? I know these people. If I would have presented myself as a little egoistic person, they would have also done that. Okay, just because, on the conscious level, I'm playing a child with them. I am such a child in my relationships and my friendships. Just because I am playing a child with them, I know they won't put much egos with me. So, yeah, consciously, I'm playing a child with them, just so that I don't want them to come into their egos. I want them to, like, we can just tone down our egos. We can be here, in a complete safety and security. I'm just trying to make people feel that way consciously. I'm behaving such a child, and unconsciously and subconsciously I am acting such an adult. I'm acting such an adult for all these people around me, okay? More than they could just even imagine. I mean, they know it subconsciously. One part of them knows it, what I'm doing. They know it's affecting them. They know everything. But you know how ego is at times. It just doesn't want, you know, to give back, because when you give back, it will leave you. That's what ego is, you know. Ego thinks that way. That when you start to reciprocate, when you start to give back, it will leave you. That is how ego thinks. So, yeah. So it's very exhausting. Definitely, it's very exhausting. Healing wrong people is very exhausting. So heal the right people. Heal people who are really ready to learn, right? So that was the first lesson. And please take care of yourself. Empaths, you know, empaths have a lot of an external. Okay. So basically, हमारा माया, हमारा matrix is very much programmed, to have to have programmed us to have an external eyes, okay? And we forget what's internally. And that is exactly what's happening really on the planet, with the feminine energies. Feminine energies are very distorted. Okay, why? Because she is made to feel like you have to take care of everyone and just forget yourself. Okay. And I mean, she is made to feel over responsible, for the family, for the connections. So she is very much externally oriented, and it's a complete disorientation of feminine energies. And really, our planet is seeing that, okay? Of course, there are dark feminines as well, there are all kinds of feminines. Some feminines have really turned into their darkness, they've really turned a little darker. Some feminines have tried to turn into masculines, okay, which is still better than darker. And so dark feminines are a little creative, yet in like not an open heart chakra, okay? Creative, not an open heart chakra. So they become a little exploitating in manipulative ways, right? So it's just what they have made themselves, right? And without judgment, let's just look at things like that. I mean, reality is what it is, right? Yeah, and then there are others who become little masculine, okay, in nature. So while I was growing up, I was also trying to be little that, okay. I was trying to become masculine in nature because I thought, because I don't know, I just thought that maybe the world would not see me as weak. My loved ones would not see me as weak, okay. It was the biggest trigger I ever had. But when I really walked my spiritual journey, I did things, and I realized how strong I was, and feminine is strong in different ways. I mean, how many people can just really wait, you know? I mean, I've waited for so long, for things to show up in my life. My life has been about waiting, and I have done things, while it's like I have followed my intuition, having, it's like, you're walking blindfolded and you're just walking, it's like you have hundred and thousands of voices outside, you're an empath, you hear everything, right? So you have hundreds and thousands of voices outside, they're telling you to do this, do that, you are not this, you are not that, all fears, insecurities, everyone is trying to tell you something, right? So tell you something bad about yourself. And there's just one voice, which I feel was of love. The thousand voices that weren't of love, and there's just one voice that was of love, and I walked my intuition, I made big decisions on the base of some crazy one voice that ever came in my life. I walked that path, and all I did was just wait. And yes, my wait is over to some extent, but some wait is still going on, right? So yeah, that's what an empath is, right? So where was I? Just, I mean, maybe I'll just have to go through the video again to know where was I. Yeah. So I was basically talking about disoriented feminine energies right on the planet. So empath or feminine energies, they, somebody's more in the feminine energies, you are sure to be an empath, you're sure to be a healer, natural healer. So you're sure to be sensitive, right? So basically, the Maya and Matrix is really programmed, and it has distorted feminine energy. So they are made to be over responsible for relationships, for connections, in some ways. And I also picked that up very subconsciously, on the planet. Okay, I picked up very disoriented feminine energies, that were really present on the planet. That's exactly what we empaths are here to do, right? To clean some of the energies, right? So yeah, I picked up on that very quickly, and I was overly, doing things, I was doing things at my cost. I started to think that I owe these people. I started to make these people dependent on me in some ways. They started to feel very dependent on me, okay, in many ways, okay. And I mean, they started to pull on my energy, psychically also, they really pulled on my energy. I could always feel it, and so yeah, I know people will tell you cut the cords, but that's not exactly how it works, right? I mean, of course you have to cut the cords of attachment. You have to learn to close your eyes as well. You cannot just be so you cannot be imbalanced, okay. You cannot just have external eyes of what people want right now. It's just you also, what do you need, and that's exactly when I went through an ego death. That's exactly when I closed my eyes. I it was when I went through an ego death, I realized it's just not about what's happening outside. It's also about what's happening inside. And I am feeling completely drained and exhausted right now. Okay, I have my own life in tatters right now, and I need myself right now. So I had really had to learn to close my eyes, and balance it. Okay, I mean, अगर दूसरा इंसान इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है तो मैं भी तो इतनी इम्पोर्टेंट हूँ, राइट? That's what ego death is, okay? And there are always, I said, there are two types of people, who are in their egos. So some people, they are very externally oriented, they do, and then there are people who are very internally oriented, okay? They're a little selfish and stuff like that. And then there are people who are very externally oriented, okay? They both are, forms of ego, right? When you really, pull the walls away, when everything is equal to you, you yourself, you have a distant view of yourself, okay? So you know how empaths suffer from savior's complex? You can do everything, you can save the whole world. Just because you can do it, you don't have to do it. Take care of yourself. Anything that's based on the form of self-sacrifice is never true, you know. If you have to do something on the basis of self-sacrifice, then it's not true. It's not heartful. Okay, it's not God. Okay, it's not an act of God. Okay, right? But you have to learn this lesson. Okay, I really had to experience this whole lesson, okay, for many years. But but sadhana to hai, you cannot deny that's, the path of spirituality, the path of being an empath is not tough, it's tough. It is a kind of tyag, and it's just a kind of tapasya, it's just a kind of sadhana. It is, you cannot deny that part, right? But yeah, anything formed on basis of self-sacrifice, if you aren't happy in that self-sacrifice, I'm sorry, it's not coming from a place of love, and it's not going to hit, the bullseye. Whatever you want to do, it's never going to happen, right? If you're happy in that self-sacrifice, it will go. Okay, it will go. I was happy, I never regret being what I was, okay? I mean, I helped people at the end of the day. I discovered myself at the end of the day, which is very good. I had my lessons at the end of the day. I discovered my boundaries at the end of the day. It made me a more humble person at the end of the day. And I'm very proud of myself, I did some things that just never pay off, right? People would just think that I was naive and innocent and people pleaser. And yeah, and still I just did what I wanted to do, being very stubborn in my heart. And yeah, I'll never regret the person I was, but you have to learn to close your eyes and really take care of yourself in the whole process, okay? Yeah. You have to tune into your sensitivity inside as well, okay? Don't be taken away by others' energies. I know it's completely difficult to do at times. Then, saying it is easier, right? I know that. You Because empaths are like, I also feel there are levels of empaths, right? Empaths are also different levels of consciousness. I feel empaths are completely skies. They are completely skies. I've always felt, I'm a buried sky. Okay, I'm like, I'm just a sky and I'm buried deep within, But when I started opening up, on my path of my spiritual journey, I started getting into flow. I started, building with my community and started healing, subconsciously, unconsciously for people around me. That's when I really discovered, like it was like my skies were like, yeah, empaths are like skies. Empaths are like, they are boundless and infinite, right? They're beautiful. They are nothingness. They can be easily carried away by energies, outside energies, because they are nothing at the end of the day, sometimes. But you have to learn, okay? Empaths, you really have to learn really hard lessons, okay, to find your center, to find that ease, and people are going to really push you into that center. Trust me. People, you will pick up psychically on people because you're more sensitive, everything, energies that are connected to you, they will try to pull onto your energies. This happens, right? If you might be unconscious about it right now, but eventually you will, as you walk on your spiritual journey, eventually you will figure that out, how these things happen, right? So yeah, I mean, people try to pull on your energy, even you are not communicating with them, even you are not in front of them, you are not communicating right now, but you know they they are psychically pulling on your energy, and they are doing it very subconsciously, unconsciously. They are, you cannot blame them. And of course you have to, they'll tell you how you have to just cut the cords, cut the cords, cut the cords, and to some extent, yes, those cords of attachment, fear, insecurity have to be cut. Yes, I get it, but still it's still going to, be happening for you, right? So what do? You have to like really push yourself into your center, push yourself, start to feel that ease in your nothingness, start to feel, you know um, you have to really start to find stillness, in that skies. You have to start loving the skies, you have to start loving that nothingness. You really have to start, to fall in love with your center, okay? So that whenever, you start to feel anxiety more, you start to feel emotions more of other people, so you are still in your center, and you know how to go about it, okay? You do not shake from your center. So these people, who are subconsciously or unconsciously trying to pull on your energy and everything like that, it's completely fine. It's trying to pull you more closer to your center, you know yeah, you just don't have to be a lot worried about it, because I see some of videos were really negative around it, okay? I just saw one video, I was just very negative and I just left it completely, okay? So yeah, you just don't have to worry. And as an empath, you are naturally going to heal anxieties, you're naturally going to pick up the stress of people and everything. And now people are going to go on karmic trips, right? The planet has shifted, the planet has changed its energy, right? And of course we are somewhere playing the role of, we are a little ahead of them. Empaths, more spiritual people, we are just a little ahead of them, to help them out, right now with what they have to go through, right? Our task is big, our responsibility is big, right? So you really have to, you really have to, you know, push yourself more into your center, okay? Don't worry, it's fine. It's pushing you in the right direction. It's really pushing you in the right direction. Find your center, find your stillness, okay? Meditate. Meditation is very important for empaths, who are really carried away by the energies, okay, of people around them. It's just meditate. Find your stillness. Find your inner stillness. Find a good relationship with your breath, okay? Find a good relationship with your heartbeat, okay? Start to, you know, how sensitive people are. They can romanticize their breath, they can romanticize their heartbeats, they can romanticize their nerves, nerve rate. So just do that, right? Yeah. Being an empath is a curse and a gift, both, okay? So just stay grounded, okay? Walk on earth, it's very important, yeah? And stay grounded, meditate, right? Um, yeah, that's it. Use your mind's imagination to go to places, okay? What I do is I always, when I feel the anxiety of others, people who are very energetically connected to me and everything, I would just, close my eyes and just imagine a very wide, beautiful tree, and, would just sit in its shade. And there are other things that I imagine, use your mind, use your imagination to calm yourself, to find your center. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so that's how I remembered my healing powers. When I started, I was doing it very unconsciously. I started making a lot of friends, and then I'm just, subconsciously and unconsciously healing them. And, of course, I'm figuring it out as, as I'm going my way. And people never gave me any kind of a validation for it. Never, never. It had always been me. I only had to give myself the validation. Okay, and I also did it. It's just I also did it very naturally. I just never let them know. I also did it very naturally. Okay, so yeah, they never knew, but of course they always sense a different energy, right? So just help me doing. I think I was always a healer in my past lives as well. Of course I was. Otherwise, why? When I started to get into my flow, the very first thing that I did was this. Great. Yeah. Okay, so some hard spiritual lessons that I learned, as I've already stated a few, there are a few more to come. Yeah, so yeah, it's okay. As an empath, I was completely misunderstood by people around me. I feel that they don't see me for who I am, but of course, why will they see me for who I am? Because I am the seer. I have to see it inside me. They don't have to see it inside me, right? So yes, I wanted some external validations from people. I was waiting, that um, um, yeah, that I could be seen for who I am. But it just never happened. Why? Because people themselves are very distracted. They have not really made sense of their own lives. How can they really help me out with things? So yeah, I it had to take little years for me, to come to my ground, and really know who I am and what I am naturally, as a soul. So I used to get completely misunderstood also, you know because I had less ego. Okay, and people who are in the less ego usually get misunderstood, right? Because you are just being yourself, without any reason. You are not getting paid for being sensitive, right? People do not, our societies have stopped encouraging sensitive people because you're not getting paid for it, right? And it will just going to hurt you a little more. It's not going to earn you money, right? So they stopped encouraging people to be sensitive, right? So if I would become that, people would just completely misunderstand me, right? As a people pleaser or something like that. So people started to take me also granted, in I was also taken granted in my connections, right? So yeah, of course, eventually everyone figured out it wasn't that way. Yeah, after many years. One thing. So yeah. Yeah, also I had a big lesson, that as an empath, you can keep your healing at the very surface level as well, by comforting them, by solacing them. But real healing really happens, when you balance out, your compassion, and little bit strictness is also very necessary. It just some things just happen in tensions. You have to really create little tensions, at times, for that the best in people come out, right? sometimes you gotta do that as well. So yeah, I learned that I was also somewhere acting at a very surface level, for people around me, and I was making them very dependent on me. So one thing is that I learned that, during while I was really practicing naturally or subconsciously practicing my own healing, powers. I was measuring and I was judging my own healing powers with people around me. Yeah, empaths, you really need to stop being a devi. Okay, I've really written that point here. Empaths, stop being a devi and stop being that self-sacrificial person. I think I've already discussed all these points. Yeah, your body is an alarm bell. Trust it. Yes. So yeah, these are all the points that I had to share here. Yeah, and empaths are really few. And I feel there are levels of empaths as well, right? So yeah, this is exactly what a real empath may look like. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I want to do this video for you. Thank you for watching till here.